Hey everybody, Jeff Munn, Creating Extraordinary Futures. We're live on this LinkedIn live stream. If you're on the stream, feel free to write a comment. Tell me where you are, where you're watching from, anything I need to know. I've got a feeling I'm going to know a few of you. So also, if you have any questions along the way, interrupt me, okay? This is going to be hopefully as interactive as possible. I don't know at this point how many people are on live or will be on live, and obviously you can watch the video after the live stream is over. The topic today is dealing with discomfort, and I want to tell you a little bit about why I chose um, dealing with discomfort. It was a couple reasons. One is I always try to experiment with things that make me uncomfortable, and I have done LinkedIn lives with where I was the guest, where I was the host. There was always this other person though to react to uh, kind of ask questions of, be asked questions of the interaction. And there was something that felt dangerous and uncomfortable and edgy for me about just getting on and doing one of these live, spontaneous in the moment. And then I'm in a group of other coaches, and one of the coaches, his name is Dimmy. He's awesome. Um, Started doing these things solo, and I was just like, wow, that felt so edgy to me. And then there was this little piece of like, oh, I got to try that. And so Dimmy inspired me. That's part one. And the other part, and I actually wrote about this earlier this week, and I think I've done a video about it. I can't remember. Is that I was talking with a potential client, and we were having this conversation about, hey, Matt, thanks for the comment. We were having this conversation about um, what he was seeing as possibilities. He had this passion project that he was going after or trying to go after, but he just couldn't find the energy and the space to go after it. And we started to explore that. And he, we had a conversation about him hiring me, about him joining a group that I'm putting on, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that group later on. Um, and we discovered by the reaction of his wife in the conversation that there was this, he had created all of these expectations around himself that he was going to be the one who was there for everyone. And anytime, what he discovered was anytime he wanted to create some space for himself, the other people in his life regarded that as selfish, which is really fascinating, right? So he had created this world in which he was very much of service to other people, but he really had no time to pursue the things that he wanted to pursue. And so we were talking about this, and he was seeing it. And once you see these things, it's really hard to unsee them. And so the question was he going to move forward? And what he said to me was, I'm not comfortable going forward in a coaching relationship. And what I responded to him with was, avoiding discomfort is what got you here. So many of this, I don't want to pick on him because it's like this universal truth that we instinctively avoid discomfort. We bump up against this, oh, I don't know. And then when we do, we kind of revert back and we stay safe and we stay small and we stay comfortable, but we kind of slowly die as we're doing that. And so one of the things that I saw a while ago is there is this invigoration, there is this liveliness, there is this freedom in continuing to kind of push those boundaries, continuing to be to be uncomfortable on some level. And I wanted to explore the topic of discomfort because, first of all, I think it's really fascinating when we explore in detail what discomfort is. And I want to do that with you a little bit. And secondly, I want to look at what's on the other side of discomfort and how important that is. So it's not there is freedom on the other side of discomfort, but a lot of us don't. It's kind of easy to get that intellectually, but it's not so easy to really get it and to really see it. I'll come back to that. But I want to talk about first, what is discomfort? To me, discomfort is an indication. We are an intelligent system. Discomfort is an indicator that we're bumping up against one of our own rules or beliefs about life. And a lot of these are unconscious. So that discomfort will show up as a bodily sensation. And we're like, whoa, I don't know what that is, but I don't want any part of it. So the question is, what do we do about it? If there is something on the other side, what do we want to do? What can we do about discomfort? And I've seen at least three ways to begin to dissolve those boundaries, because there is a school of thought, and a very popular school of thought, and to some extent it works. Feel feel the fear and do it anyway is probably the best way to say it, right? It's like, you feel uncomfortable, you just do it, man. You just push through. You can do it. And there are things that you can do that with. Certain low levels of discomfort, the email that you're not sure to send, the question of your boss that you're not sure if you're going to ask for a raise or a promotion. I mean, you can do those things. You won't necessarily be as effective as you can be in those situations because you're coming from a different place. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about being later on too. What I found is more effective is to see what the discomfort actually is. It's actually something that you created probably in childhood. 99% of the time, it's created in childhood. And there are things that you can do to help forgive yourself for creating that, to help, be thankful that you created it because it served you at one point. It served that inner 8-year-old, and to let go of it. And so at the most fundamental level, if you want the shortcut, and it is uh, simple but not easy. One of the most fundamental things that I do as a coach working with people is show them in a really kind but disciplined and focused way that the world they are living in, the world you are living in, the world I am living in is 100% internally generated 100% of the time. There is no way for you or me to ever directly experience the outside world. I mean, if you talk to scientists about what reality looks like, um, the consensus is it's basically some kind of in indeterminate gray haze. It's just energy. And so we have sense organs that take certain parts of that energy and create representations of it that look like food or potential companionship or a mate, or we create these things called jobs. So that we've got the sense organ piece of it, like that I can look out my window and see a beautiful fall day in Colorado. It's gorgeous, and I feel good even looking for a second. But then we tell stories about what we see. So everything we see, everything we kind of take in from the outside, we almost immediately, subconsciously, we are, it's even hard to catch yourself doing it. It's so fast. We create a story about it. Is it good? Is it bad? Do I like it? Do I not like it? Do I want to avoid it? Do I want more of it? Um, and then we create this thing called the future. We create this thing called the past. And maybe we feel good thoughts about the past. Maybe we feel bad thoughts about the past. Maybe we have some anticipated wonderful thing that's going to happen in the future. Maybe at 4 in the morning, I do this. We have this thing we dread about the future, but it's all made up, and we're the ones doing it. And that doesn't necessarily mean we have to correct it, because there's a logical flaw there that, and the flaw goes something like, if I'm thinking bad thoughts, then what I need to do is think good thoughts. And that can be helpful. It can be helpful over time to kind of train ourselves to expect different results. Things tend to go the way we expect them. But at a most fundamental level, the most important thing that you can do is see that they're just thoughts, and you don't have to believe them. You're going to think some crazy stuff. I do. It's just part of the human experience. And seeing that those thoughts are 100% made up 100% of the time is incredibly helpful. I've got a client who we've been working together for 2.5 years now. And he was having trouble seeing this. He runs a company. He was doing a lot of planning, contingency planning. What if the economy does this? What if workforce availability turns into that? A lot of, here's scenario 1, 2, 3, 4A, 6B. And we kept in the conversation about this understanding. This is called the inside out understanding. And we had set aside a half day. We tend to do that toward the end of the year, every year, just to kind of see what's next, see where we've been. And he suddenly got it. He said, "Oh, I'm making that up, aren't I?" It's like, yeah. And the reason that's so helpful is that we behind that habitual planning, ruminating kind of thinking, what's really going on, what has always gone on, is that in the moment you have figured out what you need to do and you've done it. And you tell yourself a story. I tell myself a story that, boy, if I hadn't done all that planning and worrying, this would have turned out differently. When actually the planning and worrying was 98% of the time, maybe a waste of time. I think it was Eisenhower who said, planning is essential, plans are useless. Because when you get out into the field of battle, another favorite quote of mine is, I think it was just Mike Tyson, of all people. He said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Um, you, when you're in that moment, when the person asks you the question that you don't know the answer to, you can blank out, you can panic. And I've written about this. This blank out thing is a very useful function. Give it a second, because what's happening is you're clearing the space for a new thought to arise. A thought of, well, what do I do in this moment? How do I respond to this question? Let me take a second. Okay, what's coming to me is this. And it works every time. It works every time if you understand that it's there and it will work. If you think that you need to, like a political candidate saying, well, I think the question you're really asking, Mary, is blah, 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 and then responds with this scripted thing that isn't really responsive to the question, you can do that, but it doesn't go very well. So everything's internal. You're creating it. It's part of the human experience. And there's this underlying understanding and creative capacity in the moment to know what to do. And there's not a lot of discomfort in that. When you see that and you get that, the discomfort in and of itself is just going to kind of automatically fall away, because you realize, oh, that was just a thought. I don't have to believe it. I have this inner guidance system and it's telling me to do this. And even if you feel the discomfort a little bit, you can say, well, inner guidance system, Uh, rules from when I was 8. Which one wins? So now some of this discomfort feels sticky. And I say feels on purpose because there can be this really strong, um, visceral, body-based sensation. Um, sometimes when I'm about to say something that it might be difficult for a client to hear, I'll get a little. It used to be a lot worse than it is until I saw what it was. This tightness in my stomach. This Some people feel it in their throat, tightness in their chest, and it feels so real. It feels like it feels really dangerous to do this thing that I'm thinking about doing. So we back away. Almost always, there is some kind of belief that we developed at a young age, some way that we created ourselves at a young age that is creating that feeling. It's like an automatic, subconscious protective mechanism. And it was really useful when you were a child, incredibly useful. I was working with a client on this a while back where we were exploring the inner 8-year-old for this person. And there were these rules around I'm not smart enough, I'll never work hard enough. And so this person designed themselves to be someone who would uh, put in the extra time. They developed adaptive strategies around bringing people in who had strengths that they didn't have. Incredibly useful stuff. Always willing to go the extra mile. Always willing. This person called themselves a shapeshifter. Always willing to show up however they needed to show up, and having no idea who they really were. So these rules have generally kept us compliant, small, safe, protected. Mom expected us to show up a certain way. Dad expected us to show up a certain way. For me, um, the rules that I developed for myself were um, I shouldn't want anything. My parents didn't have a lot of money. I am an only child, so they they spoiled me to the extent they could. But there was always this, well, wow, what do you want that for? It's greedy to want that. If I liked things um, that they thought were weird, I would hear about it. I wrote a story on my website somewhere about, going to see Star Wars as I was 12 when Star Wars came out. I'm 57 now. Um, and for whatever reason, it had been out a while in the theaters. I had not gone to see it. I think it was because all my friends had gone to see it, and I'm not sure why I hadn't gone to see it, um, but I went to see it with my parents. And it was like a Saturday matinee, and there's that first moment. If you saw it in the theater, you know what I'm talking about, where the ship is coming over the head, and it's there's just been nothing like it on the screen ever. And I was just enthralled with the whole thing, start to finish. It was the most amazing thing I had ever seen. And I came out walking with my parents to the car, and my mom says, "Jeff, if you like that, you're weird." So I learned I shouldn't want things. I learned that the things that I wanted were weird. My dad was this high school quarterback, homecoming king, incredibly popular. I was not that. I was the nerdy fat kid who also figured out that he was good at school and that his parents gave him some um, some approval, some acknowledgement when I came home with, straight A's. So that was this, there was this kind of overachiever mentality. I'm good at this. I can get recognition by doing this. And these other things that kept me small, don't ask for things, don't ask for help. Um, and so I created all these rules. It took a long time for me to even see them. It took me even longer to figure out what to do with them. And thankfully I'm working with a coach who's helping me with a process that I have adapted and now use with my clients. Um, that we will dive into deep in the group program that I'm creating right now. But the gist of it is to see that you were incredibly smart to create those rules for yourself, those judgments of yourself, those, it's a creation of a self, right? That's one of the things we do as a child is we create a self, we create an identity. It's just part of the human maturation process, part of the psychological process that we go through is we build this identity. And then at some point, we begin to see it's not as real as we think it is, and we begin to let go of it. And so there's this gratitude that you created it, that it kept you safe. There's this recognition of the innocence of it all, this recognition that it isn't serving you anymore, this release of it. And when you begin to release those beliefs and you see, oh my gosh, I'm not constrained by that. Whenever I said I could never do that, that was a lie. So we can begin to create something that seems more useful, something that seems more unlimited when we develop this capacity to drop the identity and step into this bigger intelligence that we are, and we can look in a particular direction and say, wow, that's cool, I want that. And I recognize that the only way that God or the universe or whatever you want to call it gives me a sign of what I should do is through desire, and I desire that, then you can go after it with reckless abandon. And not only can you go after it with reckless abandon, but it doesn't matter if you get it or not because your whole identity isn't at stake. So much of our life we're thinking about if only I get this promotion, or if only get that promotion, or that job title, or that house in that neighborhood, or I send my kids to this school, then I will be successful. And we don't recognize that there's no such thing as success. It's an entirely made up concept. And then we wonder why we struggle with it. We create these rules for success and then we flagellate ourselves for not meeting them. It's crazy. But instead, this place of creating from joy, looking at that possibility. The other thing that we can notice, and it's hard to notice in ourselves, it's easier for someone else to notice, is what kind of metaphors do we use? Do we talk about, the struggle, or do we create these stories or these analogies around what work is or isn't, or what relationships are and aren't? And how do those put structure, yes, but also kind of a prison because they limit us. Those metaphors limit how we see something. Those rules, again, um, yeah, I always saw my dad. Whenever my dad was supposedly relaxing, he had paperwork on his lap. So I had this idea that um, productivity was the game. That you always should be working on something, and it's taken me a while to be able to actually relax and do something that is not useful just because I enjoy it. And there are all kinds. These things show up with money. Um, you know, what do you think of rich people? Do you think, wow, they must have worked hard and good for them? Or do you think they're greedy and they're crooked? My mom thought they were greedy and they were crooked. And my first law firm job, it's like a summer internship. So I didn't know anything. And this law firm was paying me more on a weekly basis than my dad had ever made. My very first job, first real job as a lawyer, right? Not even as a lawyer, as a law student. So that what kind of metaphors are you living in without realizing it? Those are limiting you too. And so with those three things, the somatic rules and the dissolution of them, the metaphors and the recognition of them, and just the recognition of the inside nature of experience itself, you can begin to let go of a lot of that discomfort. If I think about myself, so I was a little a little uncomfortable about the idea of coming on a LinkedIn Live, but I knew I could do it and I knew I would get over the discomfort. And really it was a level that looked more like excitement and enthusiasm than discomfort. They're really similar in the body. It's just that fear is just excitement kind of ramped up, overwhelm, to the point of overwhelm. So when this stuff drops away, you get to ask yourself, what do I want to create? And one of the ways we figure out what we want to create is we start to look at what we really want. And this is a really difficult question for most people because we're conditioned to think about what do others expect from me? What is my role in this um, tribe that I'm part of? How do I avoid getting kicked out of it? And also, what do I think I can have? And both of those things, again, are 100% made up. So, what would be more useful? I want you to think about that. That's really important. What would be a more useful belief for you? What would be a more useful identity for you? And what would it be like for you to step into that? And when you do, and when you recognize the greater capacity of this new identity that you are stepping into, that's that's when the fun starts. I want to talk about being a little bit because that's really where all this is headed, and especially in the context of creating something new. Um, First, I want to go back because what I have found is if there's if things are good enough, if things are okay, if things don't suck enough, it can be really easy to put this work aside. It can be really easy not to see what's available. But I've seen people shift industries. I've seen people create the next version of their companies. I've worked with clients who've gotten 3 and 4 promotions when they saw how they were getting in their own way. And no one's perfect at this. This is lifelong work. I've been doing this work for 30 plus years in one form or another. But just little things fall away, and then you see the next thing that's available, and the next thing that looks cool, and the next thing after that, and you see, "Oh, I'm, the only one getting in the way is me." I had a client literally tell me that before he hired me. He said, I'm in between a small company and a big company, and I realize the only thing that's getting in the way is me." That's that's what we're talking about. And when you can see that, and when you can release that, the world opens up to you in a way that you can't even fathom right now. When I decided to become a coach, this was 2016. I had just been let go from my corporate job. And the question was, do I go back and try to find something similar, or do I do what my heart had been calling me to do? And I didn't think I could do it. My first impulse was, yeah, I got to get another job because I there's no way I can make a full-time living coaching. I wish I had understood at that time how amazing this next thing could be. I would have jumped into it more quickly. I would have jumped into it with more enthusiasm. I probably would have created even more quickly than I had. And I'm at the point now where, this year I will exceed my all-in pay from my corporate job as a coach, doing what I love, helping people change their lives, showing up fully. The work is in how authentically I can show up for me and how authentically I can show up for you, and it's amazing. And it can be really helpful for you to have the assistance of someone who can basically say, I don't buy that. I think there's more available. I hear this. I see you with this experience. I hear you with this love. I see you get excited when I see you talk about this. And for you, it could be this. And I want to come back to that when I talk about the group program. So that question of what's on the other side, you can lower the discomfort, and then you can also make, you don't have to make it. You can see that the possibilities are bigger than you ever dreamed. So if anyone is listening right now and has a question you want to pop in the chat, please do. But I want to talk about the group program that I'm creating and give you. I think I said I wasn't going to prepare for this, but I did actually write a couple notes with this because I want to make sure there are some things that I emphasize in this. First, to give you context. So I'm working with some really senior leaders one-on-one right now, and I love it, and I love the impact that we're able to have. I love the fact that when I'm working with someone fairly senior in an organization, generally they could have anywhere from 50 to 500 people reporting up to them, and that when they change, when they become a better human, that trickles down. That feels amazing to me that I'm able to have that kind of indirect impact on people. But what I found was there were so many people who couldn't afford my one-on-one rates. And obviously when you're working with people one-on-one, there's a time constraint too. And I just wanted to have more impact. I wanted more people to have the benefit of the 30 years of, 30 plus years, maybe 35 at this point, of personal development work that I've done, the 25 plus years of meditation, the 15 plus years of working with coaches and teachers. I've been able to distill that down. And I want to share it with people. And so right now, to work with me one-on-one is, for a year, and that's my standard arrangement, it's $75,000 and up. And the question I ask myself is, what could I deliver for $10,000? Now, I recognize $10,000 is a decent amount of money, but it's also, the money is your commitment. And if you do the work and if you see the direction I'm pointing, and you get a job or a move or you start something that you had no idea you were even capable of, you're going to look back and think, wow, that's the best $10,000 I ever spent. And so what do I mean by group coaching? Because I think what I'm pointing to is a little bit different than what a lot of people think about as group coaching. I mean, obviously, you get in a group, People take turns asking questions. This is the way I used to think about group coaching is like, oh, instead of um, instead of having an hour with my coach, I maybe get 5 or 10 minutes to ask my question. But I've come to realize and conclude that for most people, group coaching is way better than one on one coaching. And so, why is that? So, first of all, is this selection piece. So, I obviously see the world a lot differently than most people. This inside out understanding is not, it's not even widely known, let alone appreciated. And so, by the fact that you're watching this, you're saying, yeah, I'm curious about this. And there are other people watching this who are curious about this too. And so, you've got a group of people who are virtually gathering right now. And I can't wait to see how this, develops and shows up that have a set of common beliefs that are looking in a common direction. And so the 98% of other people out there, the people that, you think, are they crazy? How do they not get this? How do they not see this? Those people are not in the group. So you've automatically got this group of people that's looking in the same direction and is seeing the same truths. And they are applying themselves and developing themselves and letting go of the stuff that gets in their way. And just to have those people side by side in a group is amazingly powerful. The Another thing that I have found in the groups that I've participated in, and I've heard from the groups that I facilitated, is you don't expect this, but every question ends up being useful. It's not like you get one question an hour and you better make the most of it. It's that because everyone is trying to make some kind of change in their life, because everyone is looking in the same direction about how to accomplish that change, every question is useful. And a lot of the questions and a lot of the coaching is about stuff that maybe you haven't hit that yet, but you're going to. Maybe is a different aspect of the question you had. But it's like you're getting coached the whole hour and you're getting coached on stuff that you don't even realize you need coaching on. And that's a huge advantage over one-on-one coaching, because in the one-on-one coaching, you can really only ask about the things you see. Now you're seeing this group of people who's looking at this issue and this challenge from a lot of different angles, and you're getting their perspective too. The next thing is what I'll call the witnessing part of this. And so you hire a coach and you expect that coach to like see you as more powerful than you see yourself, to see possibilities that you don't see. That's why you're hiring the coach. That's kind of the, you know, it's not quantifiable. It's the unreasonable part, but it's like, yeah, I want to take this leap. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I know that if I have help, we're going to create something amazing, even though I don't necessarily know in advance what that amazing thing is going to be. That's part and parcel of the one-on-one coaching relationship. But what's so cool about a group is these other people who started out as strangers get to know you too. And when they see that possibility in you, that thing that it's like, I'd really like to do this, but I just don't know if I have it in me. And everyone is saying, what are you talking about? I see this and I see this and I see this. And you're hearing 6, 10, 8, 12 people all chiming in saying they see this possibility in you. That's such validation. That's such power. And so I talked about a $10,000 investment for that. And when the program is up and running, it's going to be 3 months. It's going to be 3 months of an intense intervention based on your own self-development, based on your seeing and being a different person with different possibilities when you come out of it. But the part that I'm most excited about is that I'm gonna take the 30 years of personal development, this 25 years of meditation, the 15 years of working with teachers and coaches, and distill it down into this video-based curriculum that will roll out as people are going through the program. I don't have that part created yet. And because I don't, I've got some of it in mind. I've created some of it, but I want to make sure that it just really knocks it out of the park. And so I need people participating in the program to really begin to like, oh, that's an issue. And if this person sees it this way and this other person sees it this way, then I can create a video showing this. And so we're going to be co-creators in this process. So for the time being, at least for the first few people, at least 3, maybe more, it's going to be 6 months of support. So when you think about 6 months of support for $10,000 versus a year for 75, and when you think about all of the things you get because of the group dynamic and this mutual support and this mutual looking in the right direction and this convincing, you know, we're not the crazy ones, right? That's what the group, that's the cohesion of the group, all looking in the same direction. Think about how powerful that is. That's what I see. And so if you are interested in hearing more about that, if you are interested in helping me co-create this curriculum that you will always have access to. So everyone who goes through this program in the future, it's going to be dribbled out to them day at a time. I'll probably do that differently. I'll do it as I create. I tend to create in bunches of videos, and you'll have real-time access to that. You'll have real-time input on whether it was helpful for you. You will help me with that creative process. And in exchange for that, I will not only give you um, a longer term group support, 6 months instead of 3 months. You'll have access to the video curriculum we end up creating for life. And because of the 6 months, this would on an ongoing basis, I think it will be one one-on-one coaching session at the beginning, one at the end. With 6 months, you'll get one in the middle too. So you'll get more one-on-one coaching with me, more group time, input into this amazing curriculum that we're going to create together, the support of like-minded people trying to create similar changes in the world. I'm really excited about creating this and creating it with you. So if you're watching this, direct message me. We'll set up a call. I'll walk you through it. One of the things we can walk through is what is actually available for you? What is this thing that you might not even know you want, but when we hit it together, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's it. And it feels, there is so much freedom. There is so much life, so much energy in that. You talk about finding your passion. That's what we're talking about here, because when that shows up, any discomfort that you do have in going through whatever it is you need to go through to get there, it's going to be so, so worth it. So I'm going to sign off for now. I'm planning on doing these things every week. I'll pick a slightly different topic. I'll probably continue to talk about the group, but at least the first, 30 minutes or so will be topics that I hope you find useful. If you have any suggestions for future topics, send me a message, send me an email, jeff@jmunn.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a direct message on LinkedIn. Looking forward to hearing from you. Take care, and I will see you next time. Thanks.